Official police records state the subject of this case is currently alive. The file was closed based on that single verification. Yet, in the subject's final recorded statement, they claimed to have watched their own killer walk through their front door. To resolve this contradiction, we have to reconstruct the 72 hours leading up to the subject's disappearance, using a chronological log of their smartphone security alerts as our primary evidence. The first timeline marker appears exactly 3 days before the disappearance. At 3:17 a.m., the porch camera triggered a motion alert. The footage shows an unidentified man standing on the porch. He doesn't knock, he doesn't check the windows, and ignores the door handle. He simply stands there, motionless, staring at the door. Standard burglars or trespassers are defined by their actions. They test locks or look for entries. By remaining perfectly still in front of a sensor, this intruder removed the typical logic of a break-in, establishing the event as a targeted, psychological intrusion. On night 2, the event repeated with mathematical precision. The same motion alert triggered at exactly 3:17 a.m., showing the suspect in the exact same physical position. The subject responded by escalating the defense, contacting local police to intercept the trespasser, while the camera showed him still standing on the porch. Authorities arrived on the scene within minutes of the call, conducting a full sweep of the property but failing to locate anyone. This diagram highlights the core conflict. The top bar shows the camera's active recording. The bottom shows police arrival. Timestamps prove the intruder was logged in real time as officers pulled up, yet he was nowhere to be found. This suggests that traditional security measures are ineffective against an entity that can seemingly disappear the moment it moves outside the camera's narrow field of view. On the third night, the investigation reached a breakthrough. The suspect moved closer to the lens, allowing the camera to capture a high-resolution, unobstructed image of his face. Investigators ruled out a mask or a professional disguise. No records of a twin or a close relative. The facial structure captured in the footage was a perfect biological match for the homeowner inside. This facial mapping comparison confirms 100% structural match. When the suspect's wireframe is placed over the homeowner's profile, every geometric point aligns perfectly. Because automated systems rely on specific biometric markers, they cannot distinguish the duplicate, granting the intruder full access. By mirroring the subject's physical identity so precisely, the intruder is positioned to move through the subject's life using their credentials and entering their home without triggering an alarm. This brings us to the final piece of evidence, captured 3 days after the first alert. The camera shows the homeowner approaching from the inside. Instead of calling for help, they reach for the latch and voluntarily pull the door open. For several seconds, the two identical figures stand face to face on the threshold of the house. They both step back inside the house together, moving out of the camera's frame. This marks the end of the observable record. The encounter moves from the public view of the porch into the private interior of the house, leaving the events that followed entirely undocumented. Hours after the two figures entered, the motion sensor triggered one last time, but only one person walked back out. When the police later located the individual, they performed a standard identity check. Because the survivor's biometrics perfectly matched the homeowner's records, the authorities determined no crime had occurred and closed the case. This illustrates the concept of societal erasure. When two identical subjects enter a single point, but only one exits, the system simply labels the output as the original person. The missing variable is ignored because the physical evidence suggests everyone is accounted for. If our legal and administrative systems are forced to accept a survivor's presence as proof of identity, it leaves us with a logically impossible conclusion. If the records cannot tell a victim from a mimic, who actually walked back out of that house?